because the voice inside your head is not necessarily talking to you. And even if it is, it's not necessarily telling you the truth. Hi, and welcome to Lead Well. I recently noticed something really strange about my inner voice, because it turns out it does not talk to me, it talks to other people. So it first occurred to me when I was doing trust technique with my horse Maggie. I was standing next to her, and in my mind, whenever I got present, and that's when usually your thinking stops, I started almost like writing down what I was observing and sharing that with others. And that is so strange. And then I started to observing my inner voice in other situations as well. And it turns out that I constantly am teaching other imaginary participants. I'm constantly creating courses. I'm constantly preparing podcasts for you. And I speak, I rehearse in my mind of what I'm going to say, of what I'm going to share. And yeah, it's so funny. Even when I'm alone, my mind has an audience. This really is interesting. I started asking myself, why am I doing that? What is my mind trying to do? Is it really processing what I'm seeing? Or is it immediately converting everything I am observing, everything I'm doing, everything I'm experiencing in something that's shareable with others? And to be honest, when I'm doing the trust technique, it's not really helpful when I'm already writing down my reports while I'm getting present, because present state usually is something where you're not thinking. And yes, I can reach those moments, but the thoughts that come up for me are usually talk tracks for others. And that may be also explain why I love public speaking. I know so many people are afraid to stand on a stage in front of an audience and talk, but to me, maybe that's something I'm doing all day long anyway. And I'm creating these podcasts for 2.5 years just because that's what I'm doing constantly. I want to share. I'm constantly sharing. And the audience is always there in my head. It doesn't feel different for me to be then in front of the actual audience instead of just talking to you all in my head. I know I have been speaking in front of people forever, even when I was a child. So it doesn't seem that because I am doing a lot of public speaking, this inner voice has turned into what it is. I think it's the other way around. I think that my inner voice has always been talking to other people, to you all. And this is why I love so much doing what I'm doing right now. There are these occasions as well where my inner voice talks to myself. And one example is that it says, oh, you have just done a really smart thing here. Or it says, oh, Miss Schickinger, this really shows how intelligent you are. When I do some stupid things, when I let things fall down or whatever. So it is a tone that is ironic. It's not cruel. And that humor creates a distance for me. So it does not emotionally touch me while I'm telling myself. So I can acknowledge that I did something stupid without tearing myself down. And another interesting thing is that when I'm angry with someone else, I really talk to them. So my inner voice is then explaining in very minute detail of what they did wrong and how they are and what they failed to understand. And I rehearse these conversations inwardly. Then the question is now, is this helping me process the situation? Or is it just keeping the argument alive? And that is something that I found out. It does keep the argument alive because I'm running it over and over and I'm rehearsing it. And so in those situations, I learned to just call me out on that and say, stop it, you don't do that. Now, the interesting thing about inner voices is that they have different structures. When you start listening to your inner voices, sometimes you have one, sometimes you have multiple. Who is speaking? I have found out that it's always me. I don't hear other people talk to me, but it could be. It could be that those are voices that are similar to your parents, to a teacher, to a boss that are telling you things. And the other interesting thing is, who are they talking to? Like in my case, they're not talking to me. They're talking to everyone else, or my voice, my inner voice is talking to everyone else, not me, or very rarely to me. And then the other thing is, what tone are they using? I just shared that usually when I talk to others, I use a very factual voice. I use a very factual tone that is explaining things, that is outlining things. And when I talk to myself, it's usually humorous and ironic. But have a look at that, or listen to your voice. What is the tone that it's using? And what is or are those voices trying to achieve? Mine, I think, is trying to achieve. Yeah, that's an interesting question. So what is it that I'm trying to achieve? Maybe I want to share with others because I want to be seen as an expert, if I'm brutally honest. And what is yours trying to achieve? So yes, I'm teaching, I'm rehearsing. Sometimes I'm criticizing, especially others. And it's also trying to protect me. And sometimes my inner voice is also encouraging and processing what's going on. A person I really admire and has been my mentor for many years is Owen Fitzpatrick. And he is about to write a book about inner voices. And not only inner voices, it goes far beyond that. It's called Inner Propaganda. And there he describes how we persuade ourselves through inner propaganda, through our inner stories that we're selling to ourselves, not only telling to ourselves. And those stories influence what we notice and influence what we believe and how we interpret events. And this inner voice that I have in my head is really the one channel of that inner propaganda. He has written this book about it that will be published on the 4th of August. And if you're reading anything this year, I would highly recommend you read it, because I'm 100% sure that this will be worthwhile and it will have some very, very important tools and details on how you can work with these inner voices and work with your inner propagandist, as Owen calls it. Because the interesting thing is, all of what we believe, all of what we're telling ourselves, is it really true? It does feel true, but maybe it only feels true because it sounds familiar, because we have been telling ourselves the same story again and again. And this is also something that I touch upon very often with my coachees, because a lot of time that voice is talking to them directly. And it often says, you're not good enough. You always get this wrong. You will never get this new job. Well, you will embarrass yourself. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. And sometimes it sounds like their own voices, but oftentimes it also resembles their parents, like the mother or the father or a grandparent, or maybe even a sibling, an older sibling, or a teacher, or a former boss, or any other influential person. And the interesting thing is that we can work with these voices. So we can first of all figure out, what exactly is this voice saying? What kind of words are they using? What kind of tone are they using? And then also identify, who is it that is talking? Because we always assume it's us, and in my case, it definitely is my voice. But in so many other situations, we have figured out it's so many different people that are talking in our heads. And it's really helpful when you identify who is talking to me. And then you can notice their tone. So is it like really amiable, or is it rather accusing? What is the feeling that you get when they're speaking? And then, of course, the speed, because sometimes voices talk really quickly and sometimes they talk really slowly and deliberately. And then you look at the volume. Are they really loud and really resonating in your head? Or it's a little tiny voice, but a really nagging maybe voice in your head that's there. And then also the speed. Are they talking quickly, like you're in a hurry? Or are they rather laid down and really slow? And also, where are they and where is this voice coming from? Is it coming from the right, from above, or from behind? And how far away is the voice? Mine is in my head because I'm a loudspeaker. I'm speaking out to everyone. But in so many situations, it's coming from one side and it's pretty close or maybe a bit farther away. And the moment you understand all these submodalities, as they're called, from a voice, you can work with them. You can start modifying them. You can change the delivery of that voice. And you can also change the words, but sometimes this is not even necessary, because once you change the tone, once you change the position of the voice, or you turn it louder, or you reduce the volume, that already helps to make it less credible. And this is not trying to replace what the voice is saying, because they have a purpose. They want to protect you from something. They want to make sure that you're secure. But it's giving it the meaning and the relevancy and the importance that it deserves. So this is not trying to be 100% positive only, but it will reduce the effect that this inner voice has on you. Now, you can do this little experiment. Just go ahead and observe your inner voice for a day. So first of all, ask yourself, who is speaking? And you might be as surprised as I was when I found out that I'm speaking, but to others. Because that's the next question. Who is this voice talking to? Is it talking to you? Is it talking to you now? Is it talking to you as your future self or as your past self? What is the tone? I told you that when I'm criticizing myself, I often use, or my inner voice often uses, humor. What is it that your inner voice is using as their style and tone? And what is the function? What do you believe is behind this voice? What are they trying to do? And is this voice helpful? Or is it actually a hindrance for anything? Keeping you mentally occupied, trying to distract you. So once you find that out, you can change one element, and one element only. So for example, you can slow it down, or you can move it farther away, or remove the tone and make it even also more humorous. You can also use your name. When it's talking to you, you could replace you with your first name, for example. So when I'm talking to myself, I often say, "Oh, Christine, that was really smart." And in a very humorous way. Or if it was really bad, I say, "Oh, Miss Schickinger, that's the most intelligent thing you've ever done." And this turns it into something that doesn't touch you. And this is the most important thing, because the inner voices often make you getting emotional, and distancing them and turning them into something more agreeable or more humorous takes away the density, takes away this effect that they have on you. Now, isn't it funny that I thought I was talking to myself? Because I've read that everywhere. We're talking to ourselves. We have inner voices. We have not only one voice, but multiple voices. And I just believed it. And I used to work with others using that concept, and it worked really well. And then I find out most of the time I'm apparently talking to all of you. And your inner voice might be a critic. I don't know. Mine is a teacher. Mine is a broadcaster. Yours could be a parent. And before you believe what you're telling yourself or just trying to silence it, ask yourself, who is it talking to? And what is it trying to do? What job does it think it is doing? Because the voice inside your head is not necessarily talking to you. And even if it is, it's not necessarily telling you the truth. So have a go at this. Listen to yourself. What are you telling yourself? Or what are those voices in your head telling you? I'm really curious to hear from you. Bye for now. This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below, and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.